Imagine a world where Usain Bolt is racing in the women's Olympic team, or Floyd Mayweather stepping into a boxing ring under the banner of women's sports. Sounds absurd, right? Well, for Piers Morgan, this hypothetical scenario is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the growing influence of woke culture. Love him or hate him, Morgan has never been one to mince his words. And over the past few years, he's taken it upon himself to challenge what he sees as the excesses of political correctness and identity politics. In this video, we dive deep into some of the most controversial and unfiltered moments where Piers Morgan clashed head-on with the woke ideology. From LGBTQ+ debates to gender identity and even veganism, Morgan's fiery rhetoric has sparked debates worldwide. Let's break down his most brutal takedowns that left woke advocates scrambling for answers. Pride flags, patriotism, and public spaces. One of the recurring themes in Morgan's crusade against woke culture is what he describes as the oversaturation of progressive symbolism. For instance, when rainbow flags replace national symbols like the Union Jack on London's Regent Street or the American flag on the White House balcony during Pride Month, Morgan didn't hold back. "I'm not triggered by the rainbow flag," Morgan quipped. "I'm triggered by the fact that for an entire month, every single space I go to is plastered with it." He argued that while inclusivity is important, the constant push for representation often sidelines other perspectives. In a heated exchange, Morgan's guest countered by saying, "Straight culture is everywhere. Why complain about visibility for others?" Morgan's response? Pure sarcasm. "Where's my straight flag? Why am I constantly seeing straight people holding hands? Where's Mickey Mouse's straight identity?" His exaggerated remarks, though humorous, underscored a deeper frustration: the perceived imbalance in how different groups are represented in modern culture. Identifying as a black lesbian. The viral moment. One of Morgan's most memorable clashes came during a discussion about gender identity. The debate began with a guest defending the idea that individuals can identify as any gender without question. This led Morgan to famously declare, "Why can't I identify as a black lesbian?" While the statement was meant to be provocative, it highlighted his criticism of what he saw as the limitless scope of self-identification. Morgan questioned the logic of allowing people to identify in ways that defy biological or societal norms. "If it's limitless, then where do we draw the line?" he asked. The conversation took a more serious turn when Morgan brought up real-world consequences of self-identification, such as male offenders identifying as female to gain access to women's prisons. "We've seen cases where male rapists exploited this loophole to prey on vulnerable women," Morgan argued passionately. Despite the gravity of his points, his guest struggled to offer a convincing rebuttal, leaving Morgan to dominate the debate. The BBC's 100 Genders. Morgan has also taken aim at educational institutions and media outlets that promote what he views as extreme interpretations of gender diversity. Referring to a BBC teaching video that introduced children to 100 genders, including terms like astrogender, an affinity with stars, Morgan couldn't contain his disbelief. In that case, he joked, "I identify as a two-spirit penguin." While his comments were ridiculed by some as dismissive, they highlighted his concern about the impact of such teachings on impressionable young minds. Morgan's argument was simple: promoting concepts like these to children risks confusing them rather than educating them. Defending J.K. Rowling against the trans mob. When J.K. Rowling faced backlash and death threats over allegations of transphobia in her new book, Piers Morgan was quick to come to her defense. Calling out cancel culture, Morgan said, "You're attacking her for writing a book you haven't even read." He emphasized that the controversy was based on misinterpretations and rumors rather than facts. As someone who has faced his share of public outrage, Morgan sympathized with Rowling and criticized the bullying tactics of online mobs. Cancel culture isn't about accountability, it's about intimidation and silencing voices you don't agree with, he argued. The vegan debate. A petty side of Piers Morgan's disdain for woke culture isn't limited to gender or identity politics. He's also taken aim at veganism and the protests associated with it. In one infamous interview, Morgan faced off against a vegan activist, starting with a blunt remark, "I don't like vegans. Most of you look unhealthy." Throughout the exchange, Morgan accused vegan activists of hypocrisy, particularly when they vandalize property or disrupt public spaces to make their point. "You care about animals but destroy property and waste resources. Where's the logic in that?" he asked. But the pièce de résistance came when Morgan, in a deliberately provocative move, bit into a stake on live TV. "This is my response to your vandalism," he declared. Unsurprisingly, the stunt sparked outrage, but for Morgan, it was a statement about personal freedom and the absurdity of certain activist tactics. Trans athletes and fairness in sports. One of Morgan's most contentious battles has been over the inclusion of transgender athletes in women's sports. He has repeatedly argued that allowing biological men to compete against women undermines the integrity of sports. The idea that Usain Bolt could declare himself a woman and dominate women's athletics is ludicrous, Morgan stated during one heated debate. He pointed out that physical advantages remain, even after transitioning, making the competition inherently unfair. His criticism extended beyond sports to question the broader implications of gender self-identification. When does protecting inclusivity start to infringe on fairness and safety? He asked. While his stance has drawn praise from some, it has also made him a target for criticism from advocates of trans rights. A persistent voice against woke culture. From rainbow flags to vegan protests, gender identity, and trans athletes, Piers Morgan's relentless critiques of woke culture have solidified his reputation as one of its most vocal opponents. His approach, equal parts humor, sarcasm, and unfiltered honesty, has earned him both admiration and outrage. Morgan's refusal to back down, even in the face of cancel culture, makes him a polarizing figure. But love him or hate him, one thing is certain: he's not afraid to say what many others won't. And in a world increasingly dominated by political correctness, Piers Morgan's unapologetic voice continues to challenge the status quo, sparking debates that force us to question where the line should be drawn between progress and absurdity. Piers Morgan has faced widespread criticism for his controversial comments over the years, particularly regarding Meghan Markle. After Markle's interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2021, where she discussed her mental health struggles and suicidal thoughts, Morgan dismissed her claims outright. His remarks led to over 54,000 complaints to Ofcom, the UK's communications regulator, making it one of the most complained about moments in British TV history. Morgan stood by his comments, referring to Markle as Princess Pinocchio, and doubling down on his disbelief, even after facing backlash for what many deemed as misogynistic and dismissive of mental health issues. Another instance involved Morgan's response to Sam Smith identifying as non-binary. He publicly ridiculed the singer's identity, arguing that such declarations were unnecessary and a distraction from real-world problems. Critics called his remarks tone-deaf and lacking in understanding, with LGBTQ+ advocates condemning his stance as harmful. While Morgan often defends his comments as part of his role in fostering debate, these incidents highlight his polarizing media presence and the divisive reactions he provokes. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on more engaging content. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, so share them below. Make sure to check out our other videos for more exciting topics. Stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next one.